A reminder that the holidays are right around the corner, guys, and nothing says celebration like the perfect sweet treat.
40.
Let's be real, finding that go-to gift or special indulgence for yourself can be overwhelming between the generic options and the mass-produced candy that just doesn't hit the same. It's easy to settle for less when all you want is something truly special. That's where Mally's Chocolate comes in. Chocolate's Cleveland's favorite chocolatier since 1935, and this year they're celebrating 90 years of making Northeast Ohio's sweetest moments even sweeter. Their selection is incredible. We tried the chocolate-covered pretzels earlier. They were delicious. They have the best Buckeyes in the state. Billy Bob's, Malio's, you name it, they have it. You can even shop online and have it delivered right to your door. Celebrate 90 years of Cleveland's sweetest tradition with Mally's Chocolates. Visit one of their 18 Northeast Ohio locations or shop online at malleys.com. That's MALLEYS.com. Taste the tradition. Taste Mally's. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome back Ross Tucker to the show. Ross, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. What's up, fellas?
Guys, what's up is the Browns lose every week here, Ross. I'm sure you just heard us say it. They've lost 21 of their last 25 going back to Week 17 of the 2023 season. And we, as a fan base, fans are just so exasperated. You know, it's like you can't even get – with all these other teams, the fans are breaking down the game and analyzing the game and looking at it. We're just like, oh, they suck. The coach sucks. The GM sucks. The owner sucks. You can't even get into the game that much and the analysis of the game because it's just all bad. I mean, as a player, how do you deal with that when there's so much losing?
Oh, well, there's two different answers here.
Yeah.
As a player, man, I always thought you got to even lock in more on your own individual performance because when things aren't going well, there's going to be changes. And you don't know what those changes are. Could be GM, could be head coach, could be both, could be coordinators, could just be players. And I always looked at it like I needed to play well enough that either I would be able to stay after those changes were made, or if I was part of the changes, that I would get picked up elsewhere. I think it was my first 3 years in the league, my head coach got fired at the end of the season. 2001, Schottenheimer in Washington, 2002, Campo in Dallas, 2003, Greg Williams in Buffalo. I was like the original coach killer. And every time I wasn't good enough to stay, you know, they would get rid of me because I was, you know, a second-tier guy. But thankfully, I had done enough that I would get picked up somewhere else. I do have some good news for you guys, though.
Okay, please.
I believe that the Cleveland Browns are only going to lose one game over the next month. One game.
Yeah, the schedule's favorable.
Well, they have a bye.
I think they're going to beat the Dolphins on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to beat the Patriots. Then they have the bye. Then I think they're better than the Jets. I think there's a very realistic possibility over the course of the rest of this month, the Browns only lose one game. And that would be pretty impressive to get a couple wins. I mean, we said before the year, if everything went well, they would win 7 games maybe. Well, you can't say everything's going well, and there's still a realistic possibility that, you know, a month from now they have 3 wins and they're headed towards whatever that would be, 4 or 5 or 6.
Would you change your mind if this week was a unfortunate loss to a 1-5 team in the Dolphins? Would you change your outlook on this rest of the month if that happened?
Probably. You know what's interesting though? Looking at those standings you guys just showed, the Baltimore Ravens are 1-5.
Yeah,
the Ravens
it's a misprint. Yeah,
and they're 1-5.
The Dolphins are 1-5. I mean,
yeah.
Let's be honest, fellas. I know it's a Cleveland show, but those are teams that had much higher expectations coming into this year than did the Browns. I was disappointed in some of the things that happened to the Browns on Sunday. I still saw some encouraging signs from some of the rookies, and I thought Gabriel did some positive things again. Obviously, it's a shame they weren't able to close out the games against the Bengals and the Vikings because those are the other 2 games that they could have, would have, should have won, right? At this point, they could easily be 3-3. You don't expect them to win every one of those games. So, you know, maybe 2-4. They're 1-5. They did win the Green Bay one. You would think with who they put out there, a quarterback that they probably don't win 50% of those games that could go either way. But there's a very realistic chance that all 3 games over the next month or so come down to the end. And I think it's time for them to win another 1 or 2. And I think that they got a really good chance to do so.
Ross, you mentioned you saw some good things from Dillon Gabriel in this past weekend's game against the Steelers. We've talked about it at length over the last couple of days. We thought he made a couple good throws, but for the most part, didn't come away overly impressed. What did you see that from the tape review that made you think he maybe played better than we saw when we watched it?
Well, so keep this in mind, right? I did a couple – obviously I did the Browns-Ravens game for CBS, but I've also done a couple of Titans games. So I've seen what rookies look like. I've seen J.J. McCarthy this year, even though it's his second year. And I guess I just like the fact that Gabriel looks like he's in command, looks like he knows what's going on. People are like, oh, he was in college for 6 years, he's 24, whatever. Cam Ward was in college forever. I mean, Cam Ward played 2 years at Incarnate Word, 2 years at Washington State, a year at Miami. I mean, all these guys are in college for a long time, and they make way worse mistakes than Gabriel does. Wow. Gabriel, I feel like, is at least giving the Browns a chance to win these games, and I don't look at him as the reason why they're losing. It would certainly help if guys could catch the ball, like Jerry Jeudy when he throws it to him. You know, that would help. It would help, quite frankly, if the defense hadn't given up over 20 points the last 2 weeks. The reality is, with where the Browns are right now, they need to win games like 19-16, 20-17. Their defense can't give up over 20 points, and certainly not to Carson Wentz and a total backup Vikings offensive line, or even to Aaron Rodgers and what the Steelers are putting out there right now. I mean, they need better from the defense, and they need the veteran guys to help them out. They needed to run the ball better than they did against Pittsburgh. They needed to block a heck of – I mean, I'm watching – and some of that is coaching. Like, I'm watching – why is KT Leviston ever one-on-one with TJ Watt? Yeah, or anybody, for that matter. Or anybody. Like, why is that ever a thing? The Steelers have good pass rushers, but disappointed in some of those things from the Browns. The reality is they need their defense and the O-line to play better, and they need the receivers to catch the ball when Gabriel throws it to them. I don't know if it should make you guys feel better or worse that Gabriel isn't the reason why they're losing.
Yeah, he's certainly not. I mean, he's not putting them on his back either, which we wouldn't expect that from a rookie. But I get what you're saying. In terms of the offensive line, Ross, Sean King, former Buccaneers quarterback, of course, he comes on our show quite a bit, and Sean, his argument about offensive line is that people make too big a deal, blame the offensive line too much, because he said offensive lines around the league are worse than they've ever been. They're giving up a lot of pressures, and that quarterback's got to, not on every play, but got to be able to overcome that, and that too many people put the blame on the offensive line. Do you agree or disagree with him?
For sure. That's just always been the case. I mean, when I was a player, any sack, offensive line, I think it's easier to do that too, because it's like you don't have to actually say a human being's name. You can just blame a group. Oh, it's the offensive line. I've always said sacks are in large part a quarterback stat. I think hurries, quarterback hits, are more an offensive line stat. But as you guys know, running backs, tight ends are part of it. The receivers running the right route, breaking off their route is part of it. That's actually one of the things I like about Gabriel is he's got a quick release. He does get the ball out of his hands pretty quickly. He does give them some mobility. But, it's a shame with what they got going out there at tackle. The reality is a lot of teams are struggling at offensive tackle. In particular, when one of those guys goes down. What would you guys have said if you said to me before the year, Ross, what do you think the Browns' record will be? Their tackles will be Cam Robinson and KT Leviston. Think about that.
I haven't even heard of KT Leviston.
Think about that for a second. Yeah. I would have been like, not good. And they got a rookie quarterback and two rookie running backs and a rookie tight end and a rookie receiver, and the defense has a bunch of rookies. I mean, they're not. This is not if there was any chance for the Browns to have any modicum of success or a modicum of success this year, they needed Conklin and DeJuan Jones to be healthy and playing pretty well. They need to be able to lean on the offensive line as the best group on the team. They're not.
I'm trying. Maybe you can make this make sense. And you brought up part of it. Like, why are you not giving an offensive lineman who is clearly overmatched any help? I'll couple that with Baker Mayfield's last game here. We went to Pittsburgh. Was he sacked 9 times?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
It was the same thing. They had no chipping tight end on the side of a rookie right tackle. I believe it was his right tackle.
James Hudson.
James Hudson. He got beat like a rag doll. And then in a similar game at Pittsburgh against a defensive line that likes to get after it, they dropped Dillon Gabriel back to throw 58 times. And this was, in most cases, you watch the game, it wasn't out of reach until 5 minutes to go. And they dropped him back to throw 58 times. He handed off 17, which is the same number of times that he got knocked to the ground. He took 17 hits on Sunday. I can't make that make sense when we've got this offensive guru in Kevin Stefanski that's ultimately responsible for this. Make it make sense to me.
Well, they weren't running it very effectively, but I do think they should have stuck with it more, especially after the success they had against Minnesota. But the bigger issue I would have, Jay, is with protecting the offensive tackles. That should be priority one. And Stefanski, I used to think, or I think, is pretty good about that. I mean, I have this philosophy, and I think maybe I'm biased, but I think more teams should try it. When's the last time a team had an offensive line playing well and their offense wasn't playing well?
That's
not a thing.
Yeah,
it's not a thing. So, we talk so much about these quarterback-friendly offenses. How about offensive line-friendly offenses? And he runs the boots and he runs the play action. But if you start with the offensive line and put them in position to be able to have a good game, I promise you the offense will move the ball and have a decent day. I'm not saying it's going to be 45 points, but I promise you they'll have a decent day if you're putting the offensive line, those guys in a position to succeed.
Ross, Bill Callahan was here. We watched Bill Callahan work wonders with an offensive line that was injured. He same thing, a lot of different combinations. I had said when he went to Tennessee to coach with his son Brian, we're underestimating how much that's going to affect this football team.
Well, it didn't help Tennessee, to be fair.
He's a guru. No, it didn't. I mean, and that there might be other problems, but we knew what he was here. Is there enough money that we can throw at Bill Callahan? He's free. Like, what kind of a difference can a Bill Callahan guy make on an offensive line that is below average at best? I'm being kind.
Yeah, I think that is probably hard during the season.
Yeah.
The value of him would be April, May, June, training camp.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Unless it's a situation where Stefanski just trusts him that much and would let him handle the run game and or give him a lot of say in terms of pass protection.
Right.
I think that's pretty difficult. And I told you I did a couple Titans games this year for CBS. They weren't playing well on the offensive line down there.
No, they haven't.
So, I think everybody was surprised that he wasn't able to get that group to play better than they did.
Can you break down really quickly? It's a lot that being made that Bill Callahan was the run game coordinator. What is those job responsibilities in terms of run game coordinator? Is he responsible for the blocking schemes and the concepts, or how does that separate from maybe a passing game coordinator or in those respects?
Yeah, for sure. So, he's not calling the plays, but he's in charge for putting the run plan together. So let's say they have 10 different runs, right? Well, he's in charge for saying, let's major in these 4 runs this week. I want to run these 2 just to the left side. These other 2 I want to run both ways. I like the idea. I think we got to bet our best matchup might be our tight end on their defensive end. So let's go 12 personnel. Let's have 2 tight ends. It's his job to come up with the plan for the run game for that week. And likewise, the passing game coordinator is looking at their coverages, looking at their DBs, and coming up with the plan of attack for the passing attack. And then they kind of what they need to do is have it all marry each other as much as possible so that a lot of those looks look the same. But that's what they're in charge of. He's in charge of the run game plan, which frankly was very good against Minnesota. They were very effective. That's a game you have to win. That's the shame of it is the Bengals, the Packers game could have gone either way. And so give the Browns credit for winning that one. But the Bengals and the Vikings games, those are games you have to win. I mean, they were the better team, I thought, in both those games. There's other times where it's a close game where you're not necessarily the better team, and quite frankly, they probably weren't against Green Bay, so maybe it evens out a little bit. But these other games against Cincinnati and Minnesota, they needed to win one of those.
Ross, last thing. Obviously, he's only played a couple of games, so it's unfair to make a snap judgment, but you know these players well. You have a good feel for it, so I'm curious your thoughts. Did the Browns make a huge mistake in not drafting Jackson Dart?
No, I'm not ready to go there yet.
Okay.
He's very, very entertaining.
Yeah.
He's super fun to watch. I don't think there's a prayer in hell that he lasts the whole season. I mean, he's an absolute idiot, and I mean that as a compliment. But, the way he played – did you guys see Thursday night? I do a lot of Eagles stuff. He's near the first down line, and he launches himself like a missile with his head down at the Eagles' first-round pick linebacker, Jahad Campbell. I would say there's a less than 5% chance that Jackson Dart makes it through the whole season. But it's going to be fun to watch while he lasts, and he certainly has given them a shot in the arm. I think it's too early to say that. However, when you compare and contrast the spark that Dart has given the Giants with a lot of what we thought were the top quarterbacks in the draft, the Arch Manning, the Nussmeier, the Aller, not playing that well, that's where it becomes a really interesting conversation. Because the thought was a bunch of these guys were going to be higher than Dart. Now you see what Dart's actually doing in the NFL, which is pretty darn good compared to a lot of these college guys dropping off, not playing that well. Then, that's a much longer conversation. You guys have a lot more time than I do, but that's where it becomes a little more interesting in terms of your question, Bull.
All right, appreciate it, Ross.
Great answer.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Ross, great stuff. What's your game this weekend?
I'm actually no TV, so I am flying out later tonight to Cincinnati. I've got the Steelers at the Bengals on the radio tomorrow night. So if you're driving around
that should be fun.
in Cleveland, I'm sure I'm on there somewhere. So, okay, people in Cleveland, here's what I need to know. Who are they rooting for?
Neither.
Or rooting against?
Tie.
Oh, they definitely they root
I'm
for
rooting
the
for the Bengals. I'm rooting for the Bengals because obviously it helps the Browns in the standings.
Yeah.
If the not that we have any chance in the standings, but and I think I do. My dislike for the Steelers supersedes my dislike for the Bengals.
Also, if you care about draft pick, it's better for the Bengals to win than the Steelers.
Yes, it is. Get them out of the one loss club or one win club.
Yeah.
And I know we kissed you off already, but quickly. From a guy who never does that, Mike Tomlin's calling out Andrew Berry by name. What do you make of that?
Bizarre. I'm surprised that Mike did that. Obviously, he felt really strongly about it. It looks to me like a guy that's only looking at things from his perspective. He's not happy.
Why'd you make him?
He's not happy. He has to go against Flacco tomorrow night. He thought for sure that they'd be able to beat Browning. Now he saw how Flacco played in the second half against the Packers, and he could very easily lose tomorrow night, and he's mad at the Browns for doing it. Listen, Mike, the Browns aren't on your timeline. The Browns, Andrew Berry has to do what's best for the Cleveland Browns. What does Andrew Berry care if Joe Flacco, who they already benched, by the way, is the quarterback for the Bengals, and the Bengals win one or two more games as a result? In fact, if the Bengals beat the Steelers because of Flacco, Andrew Berry's probably happy about it.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's right.
It's an interesting
Good
way
point.
of looking
Good
at
point.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
Ross,
man.
thanks for the insight. Enjoy your game tomorrow night. We will be listening if we're driving around for sure.
Appreciate it.
All right, see you fellas.